Don't say nothing. Don't you say a word. I just want to see you work. Come on, baby, work it for me. Got it running. No, show me something. Let me see it, girl. I just try to see you work. I just want to see you work it for me. I heard her talking loud, but she ain't saying nothing. What up with all this frontin'? Come on and show me something. You know you wanna do it. Go ahead, your man ain't coming. You do that thing when you dip it, keep your hips bumping. What up with all these questions and what you manifesting? You talking to me like you talking to an adolescent. Jump off, come off, bird bass, freaky beat, and so on, so on. Let your waist pop when the bass knock. I love to watch to the top until it's no clock. Can't even tell the time, but you know it's mine. What time is it? Mine 20 carats out the 9. Are you dehydrated? Well, let me quit your thirst. But first things first, let's do what we rehearse. Don't get nervous now. Show me break it. Get up and take a stance and let me see it. It's your something. Don't say nothing. Don't you say a word. I just want to see you work. Come on, baby, work it for me. Got it running. No, show me something. Let me see it, girl. I just want to see you work. I just want to see you working for me. She still talking loud, but she ain't saying nothing. Why you ain't moving, mom? DJ ain't playing nothing. You tell him play this turn until the speakers blow. Birthdays with the bass, baby, we can do. I like your unmatched. It's show with no back. She's showing no tats. You ain't no slightly ghetto. She blues, ghetto. She 5'5", brown eyes. It's the letter. When did you come along? Oh, you got 2 or 3. That ain't no thing, baby girl, 'cause I got 2 or 3. And we gon' all kick it, and you about to see just what a day would be if you was in the ride with me. Turning on the headlight. Then we be running on the red light. Oh, it's full steam ahead. Ain't no stopping now. Now come on her and drop it, and he gon' tell you why. It's your something. Don't say nothing. Don't you say a word. I just want to see you work. Come on, baby, work it for me. Got it running. No, show me something. Let me see it, girl. I just try to see you work. I just want to see you working for me. All my Midwest shorties, come on, do that thing. Dance for me, dance for me. And all my down south shorties, come on, do that thing. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. All my East Coast shorties, come on, do that thing. I said, dance for me, dance for me. And all my West Coast shorties, come on, do that thing. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. She still talking loud. I heard her better now. She keep a thumb print. Ain't any weather now. No sight of a band, but I can hear the horns playing. She got me hypnotized, just like that Biggie guy. 'Cause she been trying to prove a point since we been inside. Can't wait to get it on. Just wait till we get home. I'm on something, call up on the J. It's your something. Don't say nothing. Come on, don't you say a word. I just want to see you work.
Hey everybody, we're back here with Danny Cashman. Danny has a show, it's called The Night Show. I've been a fan of his for about a decade or more. So we wanted to get a chance to learn a little more about it. How you doing, Danny? Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So you grew up in Bangor?
Yeah, technically Old Town. We all say we are from Bangor, but I grew up in Old Town. Our claim to fame is Old Town Canoe. And also that's where Tabitha King grew up, who of course is married to Stephen King. It's an amazing town right on the shores of the Penobscot, and I've been here basically my whole life.
So did you always have a love of television, or was that something you were interested in as a child?
I'm pretty sure the television was on in the delivery room when I came out of the womb, and I just started watching. I've always had a love for television. When I was a kid, I think I matured early. When I was a kid, I was not watching the Sesame Streets and the Mr. Rogers of the world for too long. I quickly migrated to things like game shows and talk shows and sitcoms much earlier than any of my friends. So I'd start talking about what I was watching on television, and they'd look at me like I had two heads. Nobody had any idea what tic-tac-toe was, but I fell in love with it at the age of 4.
This is kind of before the Game Show Network. So you were watching a lot of these, like me as a kid, kind of daytime TV. You might have had a snow day or day sick or something like that, and you get to go sit and watch these shows.
Yeah, it was partially that. The network shows were on then. I'm trying to think. Card Sharks was big then. Press Your Luck was big. Price is Right, of course, has always been big. Wheel of Fortune. But then the USA Network after school would have game show reruns. Those shows, that's what I watched every day after school. My friends who would watch TV after school, they'd be watching cartoons or stuff like that. And I'd be glued to these game shows, filling my head with useless trivia knowledge.
I know you first saw, like me, when we were kids, David Letterman, and were like blown away by what he was doing that was so different, very kind of groundbreaking. So is that kind of your first hero of what you do now on television?
Yeah, it was. I saw Late Night with David Letterman. My parents, or my brother, I guess, was having a sleepover. So I was running around with his friends, probably being loud and obnoxious. And the TV was on because it was always on in our house, no matter what time of day it was. And I saw this guy in a tie who looked like he was doing something important, but he was being a big goofball. And that appealed to me immediately. So I sat on my sleeping bag and watched the rest of that show, and I was instantly hooked. And looking back on it now, having watched a fair amount of Johnny Carson and a fair amount of David Letterman, Johnny Carson made the job look easy, but he made the job look unreachable. David Letterman made the job look like anything, something anybody could do. It became something that I told myself then and there I wanted to do at some point in life. And I didn't realize what the world was like back then. I didn't realize that there were only, at the time, 3 people that had shows like that on national television. But I knew early on that's what I wanted to do.
Well, the interesting thing about it as a kid, I remember as well, that very late night part of it is what's really interesting, because you don't really feel like anybody else is watching it because it has that underground feel to it. So when you got to, how old were you when you first started doing the first permutation of the night show? Was that in the 90s or?
Our first go round started in 1997. I was 19 years old and I had no idea what I was doing, but I had an opportunity. There was a local station in Bangor. It still exists actually, but at the time it was a WB affiliate, and they were trying to get more local shows on. And I figured it would be something that I'd be interested in. So I asked them if they were interested in this idea, and they were, as long as I paid them money. And I thought it would be easy to find sponsors at 19 years old. I had no idea how difficult that would be to find sponsors for something like this that was on late at night and something nobody was doing. But we made it work for a couple of years. That version of the show lasted 2 years. I was, like I said, 19 years old when it started, and it developed a little bit of a cult following, which I'm proud of. It looked far different than our show does today, but it had the same basic elements to it.
Yeah, I mean, there's pluses and negatives to being like the alternative kind of out there, like it would have been. I'm sure I saw clips versus now where everything's way more polished. But obviously now in the newest permutation, it's much more accessible to everybody. But so that was 97 until what year did, because you had a little hiatus and came back.
Yeah, so we came back twice, like a stomach bug.
Yeah.
The first one lasted until 99, and then I went to New York City. That's the only time I lived outside of Maine. I went to New York City for a summer, and then came back and finished college. And then I don't remember why, but we started the show again on a smaller station than the one that we were on. I guess we felt like that would be a good business plan. And the second version of the show lasted about a year. And then it got canceled because we just didn't have the time for it. It wasn't a good version of the show. We did our best given what we had, but we just did not have the time for it. And I say that about everybody that was involved. We just couldn't. So that lasted until 2002. And then 8 years later, the version that is currently on television premiered on a few stations in Maine. And that was in October of 2010. So now we've been on 13 consecutive years.
And so I guess what's the origin story of the new show? How did you pull that all together? Because that's like a big undertaking, and it seems like you're like a lot of us in Maine. Hollywood is, might as well be on the moon. It's so far away. I'm sure you had to do a lot of legwork yourself to really figure it out, make it all happen. So what goes into that? And that's kind of what gets you to where you are today.
It was a lot of things that sort of happened together to make it all come together. A friend of mine who had done the second version of the show with us said, it'd be great if you brought the show back. And I was adamant that it wasn't going to happen. And then he said, what would it take? And I finally answered the question. I said, we need to have a crew that knows what they're doing. We need to have a place where an audience can be there to watch it. We need to be on a station that people watch. And when all three of those things happened, I had a hard time saying no. So we started it. We had a commitment to run. When we tape, we usually do 3 shows at a time in front of a live audience. So we committed to 4 tapings and doing 12 shows. And that was in 2010. And then at the end of that, we agreed to do another 4 tapings. And then we just haven't stopped. So now I don't remember the exact count, but I think of this current version, we're up over 500 shows as of earlier this year. When you include the older versions, we're at like 650. I know we just passed Gunsmoke.
Yeah, I mean, you probably surpassed Star Trek, several other shows that people think of as gone on, but may have only had, 80 or 90 episodes. And is there a couple of shout outs you want to give out about? Because I know you guys are at the Gracie Theater. I don't know too much about the band. I mean, is there anything we could learn a little bit about those guys so we give them their praise too?
The other people involved in the show, including the band, make the show. If it were just me, people would get tired of my shtick pretty fast. But the band is made up of all-star musicians led by Brian Netto, who is just unbelievable on trumpet and as a band leader and as a person. And the band's name is Brian Netto and the Night Show Band. The drummer in that band is Mike Borgia. He's been with me since 1997 doing this show. He was doing audio and camera work back then, and now he's the drummer. And then on guitar, we have David Clark. On bass guitar, we have Bob Roman. He gave me bass guitar lessons when I was in 3rd grade. So I've been connected to him for a long time as well. On keyboard is Lincoln Blake. On trombone is Jim Winters. And on tenor sax, we have David Clark, who's not around for a little while. I'm sorry, David Libby. He's not around for a little while. So filling in right now, we have Sonia Hannington. And our band is a 7-piece band, which is bigger than some of the national late night shows. And as a musician and a music lover myself, I take a lot of pride in that. The co-host on the show is Kristi Robinson, who I've been a fan of for so many years. I was a fan of hers before we ever met. She started doing sketches with us about 10 years ago. And then she went away, got her master's degree, and was kind of touring the country doing performances, came back, and we're so lucky that she's on the show. She's brought the level of the show up 100%. She's so talented with her quick wit and her ability to sing. In fact, she's performing. We have a 1-hour Christmas show. It's on Fox 23 at 6 o'clock for an hour, and Kristi's going to be performing another song with Brian Netto and the Night Show Band, and her voice, I don't know that I've heard any better. She is just incredible, and to be able to share a stage with her is I can't put it into words. I feel fortunate to be there every day with her. And then we have other people on our team. We have an enormous writing team, executive producers, Luke Bushard and Rodney Verrill, our audience liaison, which is a very difficult job, Mark Nason. Our audience comes in cold. He warms them up so they are primed and ready to make lots of noise on TV. And then Jennifer Murphy, who also helps out with the audience liaisons. Our team is so special, and they do it because they love late night television and local television. And all of those people deserve so much credit for making a show like this happen. I'm just a lug nut in the car.
So before you jump off, feel free to mention where people can find you, both the the times that you're on and the stations, but also the website, social media, things like that. People are going to want to find out more about it.
In Portland, Greater Portland, you can see us on Fox 23. I mentioned our 1-hour Christmas special. That's on December 23rd, and that's clips, or not even clips, but sketches and performances from Christmases past, as well as the new performance from Kristi and the band that I mentioned. That's at 6 o'clock on Fox 23. Our regular time slots are after the 10 o'clock news on Fox 23 on Saturdays. Usually that would be 10:30, but sometimes sports pushes us back. So just after the news. And then it's on again. If you need to DVR us because you can't stay up that late, we're on consistently at 1 a.m. on CBS 13. We're also on in Bangor at 11:30 on WABI TV5 and Presque Isle on NBC 16 at 11 on Saturday nights. Our website is thenightshowmaine.com. We have all sorts of clips there. We do not post full shows. That's, I think, our most frequently asked questions, but we do have a question, but we do have plenty of clips online at our website, thenightshowmaine.com. And we're also on Facebook and Instagram. We started getting into TikTok, but I'm getting old and that confuses me. So I think we just might tick and not talk. I don't know.
Exactly.
And we do have a handle on Twitter, although we've kind of moved away from Twitter a little bit. So our primary focus is on social media, our Facebook and Instagram.
So the answer is you can find you in a lot of places. I love your show, and I want to thank you so much for coming down here, being here on Zoom. Thanks again, Danny. Have a great day. Check out his show, December 23rd. Watch it, TV. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.